Welcome to Mirahiku Southland in New Zealand's deep south, a province of wilderness, beauty and abundance. This week, for a 68th year, the region plays host to the best road cycling talent from around New Zealand and offshore in the country's longest running and most prestigious road race. Over 100 riders across 18 teams doing battle across 867 kilometres of southern highway. Through fertile farmland, majestic fjordland, a defining climb up Queenstown's Remarkables, the iconic Bluff Hill, all leading to a winner being crowned in Invercargill 1 week later. This is the 2024 SBS Bank Tour of Southlands. The script writers got it exactly right on Sunday's opening day of the 2024 edition. Perfect conditions greeted this year's peloton in central Invercargill, meaning one of the biggest crowds in recent memory enjoyed all the action around Queen's Park. Creation Signs Mito Q New Zealand cycling project, with 2022 winner Josh Burnett in the lineup, put the peloton on notice early with a strong ride in the prologue team's time trial, finishing 6 seconds clear of PowerNet with Transport Engineering Southland Deep South third.
Well, we're really lucky. The Japanese National Cycling Federation has sent their team out. Kabuki just won the world title on the scratch race at the Copenhagen, so it's pretty cool to see him. I can't wait to see those guys lining up for some sprints, but also we've got plenty of Australians that have come. A couple of French boys have come all the way out from France to race it as well. We're stoked. Most of the strong teams have really done their homework and got a strong hill climber on their squads, because we had one change to the tour this year and we're going up the Remarkables a lot further than we have done. So it's really going to be about a 40-minute climb for a really fast bike rider. So some of those other guys will be quite a bit longer, close to an hour, but 40 minutes of going as hard as you can is at the end of a stage is it's going to be quite an effort and quite a feat. But most of those guys that love climbing hills, they'll be just relishing the chance. So yeah, looking forward to that for sure.
The afternoon 10-lap stage 1 saw the field stretch their legs in earnest for the first time. Southland's Tom Sexton claiming the first sprint points of this year's tour before the decisive move of the afternoon came midway through the stage. James Gardner, Samuel Jenner and Australian Nate Haddon getting off the front and looking to hold off the chasers on the final lap of the park.
Under 4 kilometres left to go on this final lap around Queen's Park in these outstanding conditions here on day 1 of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The crowds are building to see if these three can hold off the challenge of the chasing peloton. And you can see there's a couple of teams right up towards the front. The TES Deep South team trying to make some inroads into these 3 men out in front. But it's Gardner there in the Hornets colour. The man who won the stage last year has put himself in a prime position to potentially try and get himself another win here in 2024. But he's joined by 2 Australians, both Jenner and Haddon. Haddon, of course, the man who's only just come on board for this tour some 10 days ago after getting the call up from his team. The second of the Aussies here to join this trio is Samuel Jenner. Of course, he's a stage winner into Lumsden last year. He's riding for the Central Benchmakers Will Bike team, sitting on the back end, number 23, as they make their way down through Queen's Drive here in Invercargill. And you can see they're continuing to power into it, riding as a tight unit, these trio. They've got about 20 seconds on the chasing peloton here, and it's looking very good for them indeed. But of course, they're not out of sight, out of mind, and they're getting the call here from one of the commissaires, giving them the information of what that gap is. You can see they're not looking around at all here. They're determined to try and open up a decent sort of a gap. As the man from Otago, Gardner, goes on to the front, the former junior world's representative, he's the current New Zealand Criterium champion, who's powering his way down here into Queen's Drive. Now they make their way onto the second half half of the circuit, and still the gap is very close indeed. It might have shut it down to around 15 seconds odd here as these three try to hold off the chasing peloton who want to get the stage. Everyone wants to take a stage in the Tour of Southland, but on day one here we might have three riders who have stolen the march on the main peloton as they make their way down through Calvin Street. Haddon from Australia can't believe his luck here. He's just arrived in Invercargill for his first ever Tour of Southland, and he's in a winning move as they make their way down into the closing few hundred metres of this event. So just one more corner for these riders as they will swing left up into Gala Street, a traditional finish in the Tour every year. They'll be back here on the Saturday at 1 week's time, but in the meantime, on day one, they're determined to try and take a stage. As you can see, the peloton spreading across the road as Gardner now starts to kick into another gear. He opens it by 5 or 6 lengths. Now, we've seen this time and time again here down in the deep south with this man. You give him a few metres and it is very difficult to try and shut down because he just continues to hold it there as the two chasers now. That's what they've become as they go down into the last 400 metres. Gardner gets out of the seat. He puts in the power and opens up a few more metres. The challenge starts to come from behind, but I don't think they've got it in the legs here as Gardner, the New Zealand Criterium champion, he took the stage last year and he's about to take victory once again here on day one of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. The man from Creation Science Mitre Q takes out his second ever tour stage in the SBS Bank Tour of Southlands. Now this could be interesting for the general classification. Throw in the time bonuses and the gap here after that first stage this morning and we could see a change around for the leader going into day two. First-time tour rider Nate Haddon of Australia takes on the orange jersey by a mere 1 second from Samuel Jenner and James Gardner at 6 seconds after the three of them made the significant break of the day.
We had high hopes for the TTT this morning, but yeah, just missed out. So we came in with lots of confidence that we can do well in the crit, and yeah, we've executed well. There's lots of racing to come and some hard stages definitely, but the tour's only young, so we'll see what we can do.
The man in the orange jersey, Nate Haddon.
I managed to drag a couple of people out of retirements. We've got Josh Scott and Bailey O'Donnell, both ex-junior world champions with us. And then Nick's joined our team. He's a collegiate 1500 metre runner from Ole Miss in the US. This is his first ever bike race. So he's decided to choose a great one. And then Andy Campbell, who's a teammate from last year from Auckland, he's rejoined the group as well. So really good team.
There's a lot of Australians and internationals that are coming over. They hear about the race from all of our international pros like Corbin Strong and that racing in Europe, and they say that this is, it's one of the best, if not the best, amateur race in the world. So they come get amongst it. It's hard racing. The weather throws it at them. It's not easy to even get around. So yeah, hats off to them for coming over. It makes the racing really cool, and yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, I was a late comer. I got a phone call maybe 10 days ago, and yeah, I said yes straight away, and I'm happy to be here.
Next summer, there's going to be a lot of racing in Australia, so I think a lot of guys are almost starting their season here. Yeah, it's awesome just to be able to come out and race the bike, and yeah, all the Kiwis and all the race organisers have been very inviting and pleased to have us, so we're happy to come here. I've heard stories, from heaps of people throughout the years of races ending in the crosswind, just losing massive time, and also guys winning it in the crosswind. So, yeah, it might be a bit of that today.
A bit of local knowledge is always good, and it suits my team. We've got 4 locals in the team, so we know the roads, we know where the wind's going to come from. Looks like up at Nightcaps there's going to be a bit of crosswind gutter action. There's a couple of long straights where just gets put in the gutter and it gets annihilated for a good 10-15 k's. So yeah, if you're looking to go for the GC, you need to be at the front, and some of the big boys will be pushing the pace. If you're a small climber, I'll be pretty scared today.
So 108 riders making their way through the centre of Invercargill. 18 teams in this year's tour, Doug. It's going to be a fantastic one, the 68th edition.
It's incredibly exciting this year. They always are, Julian, the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, but this terrain today, coming out of Invercargill with the wind, they're going to experience big block northerly, lots of crosswinds there. The Australian contingent won't know what hit them. I'm sure they've sort of waited all night for this, but bring on the racing. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, there's a lot of excited riders, as we heard at the top of the show there. Looking out at those conditions, it certainly is going to play havoc with a lot of these riders who wouldn't have experienced these sort of winds before, which could make a big difference the way in which this stage plays out here. The first official road stage, of course, of the day, 166 kilometres, making its way through to a traditional finish into Lumsden, as it has for a number of years here. But of course, right up in front of them here, right from the get-go, will be a number of the sprints for the Harcourt Sprint Ace.
Always a hotly contested jersey, isn't it? And it really is important that the sprinters do get the points early. There are a lot up on offer. They can get a big amount of springboard bonus points early on in the stage. It sort of sets them up for later in the week for this jersey. But this headwind they're experiencing is going to become a crosswind, and there'll be a lot of positioning from the tour riding GC teams. You can see further back there's a lot of posturing going on, but there'll be a bit of anxiousness amongst these guys. They'll be really waiting for things to open up once they start heading left and out towards the Tautau.
A lot of new colours in the teams here this year as well. A lot of new sponsors on board, which is fantastic to see in this challenging financial climate here. But as we see the first two riders have a bit of a go at the first of the sprints, it looked like Tom Sexton there, the man in the green jersey. Of course, he's won that sprint ace before. As he said, he'll sniff it out. If there is an opportunity there, he'll pick up some points.
Yeah, and the experienced riders, let's face it, this race has got a lot of experienced riders, and a lot of these riders, especially Australians, there's guys from all over the world coming here and have raced all over the world this year, so they're used to these conditions, they're experienced in it, and they'll be really wanting to conserve their energy for later on, I would think.
And speaking of experience, there goes the TES Deep South rider. That's Nick Kirkazoo, three-time winner of the green jersey. And he's got Bailey O'Donnell, of course, a former Junior Worlds medalist, coming into the tour this year with a lot of experience as well. No doubt they'll go head-to-head when it comes to those sprints. They love them every year.
So once again, the sprints come thick and fast as you head out of town on these first stages of the SBS Bank Tour. They're all looking over their shoulder at each other. Nick Kirkazoo, who has won this jersey, as you said, sitting there in about fifth wheel. He'll be really wanting to hunt these points early to try and consolidate a bit of a buffer on that jersey for himself.
Yes, riders getting themselves into the echelon here to try and protect themselves from these strong cross winds. It's like Glenn Haddon up towards the front there in the silver jersey. Of course, that's for the over 35-year-old riders in the tour, and I think there's around 8 to 10 riders contesting that particular jersey this year, but it's all on for the sprints once again, as Sexton looks like he's going to try and wind things on up here. Again, Kirkazoo coming up beside them. Of course, they're both part of the New Zealand track squad, the endurance squad there, and it is Kirkazoo who will pick up those points for themselves. Oxford Edge also getting in the mix.
Hotly contested. You can see the body shape each year these guys changes, Julian. These boys used to be wee riders, but they're not so anymore. The sprint endurance squad track cycling has really built them up.
Here we go, Doug. Those winds now starting to make a bit of damage happen across the bunch, and we can see groups starting to form off the front, making life very difficult. Remember, we have 108 riders, 18 teams, trying to get themselves to scramble across to the front here, and already this wind is making an impact as a vast majority of the field starting to drift off the back.
Classic Tour of Southland scenario here, crosswind, riders are all the way across the road. All of the major teams here, I can see the Transport Engineering, Southland Deep South, Creation Signs, Quality Foods, Central Benchmakers, Willbike, they're up there, but look at the carnage starting to go behind them. These guys that are getting dropped off are just simply not going to get on that front group.
Fantastic shot here to see the damage starting to occur here amongst this leading group. And of course, Doug, we're so early into the stage here. We're under 20 kilometres out of Invercargill and already seeing a small group go off the front. This could be potentially a very, very long day for a number of riders.
There's about 25 riders who have just completely put a hammer blow down on the rest of the field here, and there's some riders, I'm sure, who will be scrambling to try and get in this front group. Mainly the tour leader that you can see from yesterday's stage, Haddon from Australia, will be panicking. They will be really trying everything they can to get across to this front group.
It's interesting to note that a number of these teams in this lead group of around 25 riders there's a hit hard to the ground there. That's what happens here in these side winds, a touch of the wheel and a rider can go heavily down. Business South Cycling Team looks like one of their riders, potentially Christian Rush.
This is the risks, I guess, of riding. Christian Rush looks really sore there. Hopefully he gets up and can get back on his bike. But they're very close. You can see all the wheels are close. The wind's buffeting. There's hedgerows. You're riding deep dish wheels, which catch a lot more wind, of course, and it is really quite dangerous. You see further back, it's still a lot of wheels getting shaky there. These guys will be quite nervous after that accident. That's the last thing they all want to have.
Well, they've got a serious job to do here, of course. They're trying to open up a decent gap, and it is opening very, very quickly. Creation signs Mitre Q there in the Hornet colours, the yellow and black colours. It looks like I can make out up to 4 riders in this particular group here, and some new colours this year. Advanced Personnel Cycling Team have got themselves 2 or 3 riders up the front. PowerNet with the likes of Ollie Jones and Kurt Ether. These sort of guys here are going to be powerful riders to have up the front.
I think, Julian, you might find that if there's not enough firepower left in the rest of the peloton chasing, that this group could very much steal away and take some considerable time. There's quite a lot of the major teams there, and I think you'll find that this time gap's going to go out further and further as we go along.
Yes, at 3:47 they line themselves up for yet another one of the sprints, and no surprise once again to see Bailey O'Donnell get himself to the front here, and he's going to try and pick up the maximum points. 3, 2 and 1 is available every time for these riders. The rider at the end of the stage with the most points will be awarded the Harcourt Sprint Ace jersey.
So through the township of Ojai, we're now headed towards Nightcap. 66 odd Ks gone of the journey, and 144, so there's still a fair way to go here for this lead group, and of course it'll be interesting to see whether this big group of these numbers are going to keep driving. I think the fact that Creation Signs Mitre Q New Zealand Cycling Project have got such numbers here that this particular breakaway is going to stick.
Now noted there, Samuel Jenner, number 23 from the Central Benchmakers Wheel Bike team, is in there, as is the man there in the pink colours, took the stage out yesterday, Gardner. Now these guys, of course, were sitting in 2nd and 3rd respectively on the general classification, so now they'll be the virtual top 2 on the road here as they've opened up a significant gap on that chasing peloton. So they'll be licking their lips, some of these teams here, because they've got significant numbers in amongst it here to try and stir things up.
So a very cohesive lead group here, ticking along at 55k an hour. The speeds in this year's race so far have just been incredible. We've seen an explosion of the field, and the front group here are looking sharp. What's happening behind, we're not just too sure.
As always, the safety of the riders is paramount, so the officials have made the decision today that they won't head over the gravel there of the Glenmuir Valley, and have instead neutralised the ride, and then now brought the riders in from Balfour as they get underway here. This lead group continue to have a significant gap of some 7 minutes here on the chasing peloton. And as you said, Doug, I don't know if there's enough firepower back in that main chasing bunch.
Enough firepower, but there's certainly plenty of firepower at the front of the group here. Marshall Irwood doing a sterling ride here for his team leader, Josh Burnett, from the Creation Science Mitre Q. Marshall's had a big year, this whole team have, but they're a very coordinated group, and they'll be hoping to hang on till the finish.
Yeah, they're approaching about 20 kilometres to go, and this will be where we see the winner of the stage. There's no way any group is going to get across 7 minutes with that short amount of real estate available to them here. But of course there are the polka dots available here, a couple more of the climbs. Who's going to put themselves to the forefront for this one, as we see a handful of riders getting towards the front? Ollie Jones, as we know, one of the best climbers around. Of course, this is the man who's just finished in the top 10, 9th in the esports, and that over in the Middle East just recently.
Yeah, there's some serious calibre of riders here. You can see an attack coming in straight away off the front. That looks like Josh Burnett leading across at the climb. He's showing some real form early on. He won't be wanting to show too much, but this front group may split if these conditions and this sort of terrain keeps going. There'll be some riders sitting in there hoping for a sprint.
Bailey O'Donnell, once again, he's not going to hang around for the sprint here. He's gone off the front. One of the Canterbury riders here who's decided to head off once again and give it a decent sort of a nudge. He'll be in the mix, I would suggest, for the most combative. The way in which he's been riding today, he has picked up significant amount of points along the way to secure that green jersey. He's now trying to sniff himself out a stage victory into Lumsden.
Bailey O'Donnell, the Home Solutions rider. This is the second year that this team has contested in the Tour. Bailey is obviously looking quite sharp. He has had a very quiet year by his own admission, but he's stealing away here from the rest of this front group. Call it the chasing group if you like, but there's some carnage going on in behind here. The wind is starting to take its toll, and I think that 7.5 minute gap that these riders have put in is starting to pinch. There's some gaps opening up.
So it's Mr. Consistency himself, Ollie Jones, who's going to lead the field up the hill here as they try and chase down, and they've caught him. Bailey is going out the back door there. He'll try and get onto the back wheel, but the steam engine on the front here. Ollie Jones, as we said, he is consistent when it comes to the Tour, Doug. He's had the King of the Mountains, he's been on the podium, he's won stages, you name it, he's done it, and he'd have to be a hot favourite this year.
Versatile bike rider, this guy, like you say, he has really just gapped the rest of this front group. Josh Burnett, of course, looking quite comfortable. He's in good form this year. He'll be really pleased with the way things are going at this stage, but this group here looked like they may have split that sort of chasing bunch there apart, and here we are now with the chasing group chasing that lot of four, and this is going to really hurt.
This looks like the second half of that leading group. They have splintered over that climb, and it looks like the likes of Ben Oliver, one of the Creation Signs men, the silver medalist from the Commonwealth Games, in the mix there. They're trying to do the chase down. Kurt Ether from Australia comes with some fine form, a great reputation. He's managed to get split off the back there as well, and Samuel Witchery as well in there with them.
Yeah, this lead group, they're really starting to realise the stage finish is coming up. There you can see Josh Burnett there on third wheel. He's looking very comfortable. There's a lot of transport engineering riders up the front there, the transport engineering Deep South. They know all about setting up stage finishes. There's a bit of cat and mouse going on here. I think there's a few riders starting to sort of think too far ahead, perhaps to the stage finish already, but this is just so exciting. I've never ever seen a day one of the SBS Bank Tour blow up like this.
Christchurch, Finn Mitchell from the advanced personnel team, looks like the man number 94 that's made headway down the side of the road here and open up a decent sort of a gap, and look who's doing the chase. Fellow Cantabrian there, Bailey O'Donnell, trying desperately to get himself across to the front here. They know they're down to the last couple of kilometres, but it is such a long stretch up that finishing straight.
A long stretch, and you can also be completely visible by all the chasers. So these riders here are the hunted at the moment. The hunters further back have got them dead in their sights. It's going to be a real foot race to the finish here.
Great crowd here gathering in Lumsden as they come into the last K and a half here for these leading two riders. They've got a reasonable sort of a gap as we see the chasers come down their straight, but you can see now that the two riders are starting to struggle here. They're looking over the shoulders, always a good sign to show that we might be in a little bit of trouble here. They've put that one big burst into it, but Bailey won't be giving it up.
It's quite a long way, and you've got a big right-hander into the main street of Lumsden, and of course the main street then is also its further length. These guys here will be relishing this tailwind bit coming down here, and they're really looking round. Probably not such a good thing to do, but Bailey O'Donnell's just had such a strong first road stage, if you like, from the Home Solutions teams. Chris Ellington, of course, he's in there as well, who actually owns the company. They'll be stoked if these guys can stay away, but they've still got a wee way to go yet.
As will the advanced personnel team, the first time in the Tour, and they're in contention here to take a stage victory. But look out, here come the Flyers. They are fair going for it. Trezai's there of Australia. The Astana man is making his way into victory, or is he? Because here comes Kean Watts. Kean Watts, he takes out the stage, the former New Zealand representative. He comes home, the man from Taupo, to take a fantastic victory there for PowerNet, and they continue to show why they are one of the strongest teams in this year's Tour. Some 20-odd riders have turned the Tour of Southland on its head on day two, and it is Samuel Jenner, the winner of last year's stage into Lumsden, who puts on the orange jersey from 7 seconds from Kean Watts and Josh Burnett. After a huge effort all day long, Bailey O'Donnell is awarded the Harcourt Sprint Ace on 28 points from Ben Oliver and Sam Ritchie. While Josh Burnett was consistent when it came to the bumps along the road to now move himself into the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains jersey. Declan Trezai's was the man that led them through into the finishing straight, leading now with the under-23 pink jersey from Guy Yarrell and Adam Chapman. While Luke McPherson from Southland secures for himself the silver jersey supported by Geraldine Cheese Company. The silver medalist from the Commonwealth Games, Ben Oliver, was awarded the Macleay Jewelers Most Combative for the day. Kean Watts, along with his PowerNet teammates, secure the Wednesday Cycles team classification at the end of day 2.
It was an awesome group, really. Like, there's a lot of motors out there. So Shano and same with James Williamson, they put in a lot of work. So central benchmakers in the wheelbike, it's good to kind of give something back to them, give them something to put in their pool room.
In the orange jersey, would you put your hands together for Samuel Jenner, Central Benchmakers wheelbike.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at tourofsouthland.com.